So I guess how did we get here, Ben? Because I don't think any of us, like you said, had Adrian going home on a Lauren HOH. And yet here we are.
Right.
Yeah. I guess let's start at the initial nominees because we have a setup. I believe the episodes have set up the Bond Alliance, even though they didn't really like reference it at all throughout this week, even though it was like a major story point that like
I made a
Lauren.
video saying that this could be the first like big real alliance, and now I look like a fool.
Well, I mean, I think that I was on the record saying that it was like bound to fail unless like Ava won each week.
Right.
But as is every alliance in this house, there are no real like actual alliances, no matter how many times people like reference them on the show in dining rooms. But yeah, we had the Bond Alliance, which was formed at the end of week one, primarily because Vince and Zach were trying to rally votes to save Zay. And so they pulled a bunch of the kind of tangential players in the house into an alliance to try to like get them to like be like, hey, let's join an alliance and also let's save Zay. That part didn't work, but the alliance did form. And so it was Vince and Zach, and they pulled in Lauren, Ava, and then make sure this is very important. Will and Adrian, really important members of the alliance, the Bond. And so we have, as Ryan referenced, the first HOH with a member of the Bond in Lauren. And by the end of the week, she has nominated two members of the Bond, and they are the last two members of the, sitting on the couch at the end of the week, and one of them is evicted. Really, so that's kind of, I think we have to really start there. Yeah.
Not good.
No, yeah,
Not
quite
good.
bad. In fact, to have that be where you end up, it feels like she really wanted to not make people mad, and that drove her more than anything, including like what would be good for her own game.
Yeah, I mean, Adrian, I have a lot of issues with Adrian and his gameplay, but he is correct that the primary issue was that Lauren, and also tangential to Lauren, Zach and Vince, are just mother flipping chickens. They're just like playing scared, even with this eviction vote, as we'll get to, and how it plays out and ends up with an 8-4. It's Zach and Vince being afraid of drawing a line in the sand. Vince even explicitly says it in this episode that he's like, yeah, we could save Adrian and Kelly if we wanted to, but that would draw a line in the sand. And there's this like, throughout obviously Vince's HOH, and then also Jimmy's HOH to an extent, and now Lauren's HOH. So much of the gameplay this season has been people getting power and then looking at the power and being afraid of wielding it and then throwing it away. They're like, oh no, I can do something that might help my game. No thanks. I would rather, cower in the corner and cry. And that's basically the bulk of how we got here. Like, that's like the underlying issue, is that people would rather not make waves, even if they're in a position where they're drowning and they need waves to survive.
Yeah, I mean, it was very funny. I can't remember if it was right when the feeds came back on or it was in the Sunday episode where it was like her, Jimmy, and Vince like huddled together. And it's like, not sure I'm wanting to take that much advice from Jimmy and Vince on how to have a good HOH week. But it appears she did take a lot of advice from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chad, what are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, I mean, we even saw this, the whole house is playing scared, and we even saw it like before they entered the house or feeds even turned on. Like all those interviews prior, no one wants to say what their real jobs are. Everyone just doesn't want to be a target. It's just, I feel like this season's all about don't target me because I'm not a threat, and I'll do everything I can to make myself appear as I'm not a threat or just suck so bad that I'm not a threat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I get why so early everyone's just playing this safe game, especially Lauren, who like really just kind of won an HOH out of nowhere, which is kind of funny. Like we both said the last 2 weeks that Lauren would be the most interesting HOH, but I think in the back of our minds could also just be a boring HOH given that Keanu, Jimmy, and all these like people who are actually talking and playing, albeit terribly, have these targets on their back, and then they end up on the block. And with so many powers in play and so many chances to pull yourself off the block, you just throw up the people who've already been on the block as to not make more waves. So it's just like mother freaking chickens. Like it's safe, but it's not fun. Like this is like you could so easily have made a move, or I don't know who Lauren's target even would be at this point if it wasn't Keanu, or who her backup would be. But like go after like one of the big like athletic dudes or smarter folk who can outplay you in the end game. Like no one's thinking end game.
To be fair, there's like 2 athletic dudes in the house, and one she's in like a fake showman's with, and the other one she did technically just evict, accidentally. So I guess she no, I mean the right person, like if she were to like try to play like to make like a safe shot, the right person for her to have nominated both initially and as the renom was Ashley. Like she knew this.
No, I disagree, obviously. Can't be putting my winner pick out there, Ben. Come on.
Well, yeah, but look, I mean, I'll even say too, if she was going to play like even more balls to the wall, the right move for her to do would have been Rachel. Really, like Rachel was actually the right move. But like if she wanted to make a safe move that still was good for her game, the very obvious choice was Ashley, and she knew it. She vocalized it many times. She talked about putting Ashley up as an initial nom, and she chickened out. She talked about putting Ashley up as a renom, and she ended up chickening out. And I mean, kudos to, in particular, Mickey and Jimmy, also Rachel as well, put in a ton of work to basically put the fear of God into Lauren. They were like, if you don't nominate Ashley, you're safe with the whole group of us next week. Which she was safe with them regardless. They were not ever going to go after her. They were always going to go after people like Riley, Vince, maybe Catherine, Keanu. Like she was never going to be a target regardless. So she basically bought herself nothing. But good work from them to like keep on hounding on her. Like, hey, there's this group of people who are going to really be pissed off if you put up Ashley. And if you don't put her up, we're going to be really happy with you and you'll be safe with us. Really like good move to like kind of deal with her psychologically, and that was primarily Jimmy, who didn't get a ton of credit. I think they gave mostly credit to Mickey, who also was I think pretty important. But yeah, I think like we have seen the conversations that Vince and Zach had with Lauren, and I think they did an okay job on the show of showing that like they were just not very confident and adamant in their campaigning towards Lauren, like because they didn't want to be perceived as controlling her HOH. But they got almost the worst of both worlds, where people still perceived Vince in particular as running Lauren's HOH, but like he didn't even get what he wanted. So like he didn't run it, but he made it look like he was running it. So he got all of the negatives and none of the positives. And all he had to do. And we come back after the veto meeting with the feeds turned back on, and Vince is like, why the hell did you do that? Why didn't you put up Ashley? That was so much better. And she was like, why didn't you tell me? If you had told me to put up Ashley, I would have. And that's just the root of it. Lauren was an afraid player looking for somebody to tell her what to do. And Vince and Zach were afraid players who didn't want to tell her what to do. And you had people like a Jimmy, like a Mickey, like a Rachel playing way more aggressively in that mid part of the week.